I'm Miriam, the Spiritual Center Director of Cure Children's Hospital of Uganda. I've been serving Cure for the last 13 years, right from the first day we started operating Cure Children's. I came from a background where my parents, from a polygamous family, my father had many women, and we were about 70 of us. I don't know some of my siblings. And I grew up suffering. I didn't grow with my mother, so life was really very hard. Having a meal was a tug of war for me, because there were many women, so each mother would take care of, each woman would take care of their children. So I used to spend most of the time at school. I would remain at school. I would not go back home for meals, because I knew I would not have meals. And then we used to have our lunch. Over the weekend we would have it around 4, and then our dinners we would have it around midnight or 11 p.m. So right from before I started my primary one, I had my little sister whom my mother left with me at home, so I used to take care of my sister. And by the time I came to my senses, when I was staying with my dad without my mom, we used to sleep on newspapers, and it was very challenging, because I used to make sure I dry them before the next day, because my sister used to wet their bed. So I had to make sure whether I get boxes, and I had to make sure they dry before we sleep. So I grew up like that until my secondary, when my father rejected paying for my fees because I was a girl child, and it was painful for me, because I loved going to school. My mother had married another man who was very poor. I didn't have a brother, an uncle, or any person to look to for my education. So that's how I ended my education early in my senior 4. And I started marrying a man. And life wasn't easy, even after my marriage. The man I married was a drunkard. He used to drink so much. I reached a time when I thought I should just go back home, because life was hard. That's the time when I met with the Lord. I gave my life to the Lord in 1987, March. It was around 5 p.m. when I gave my life to the Lord. So I started walking with the Lord from that time. And when I joined the church, this church was very welcoming. And shortly the pastor asked us to choose a ministry we felt the Lord was leading us to. And I felt led to minister to children. And I joined the children ministry. I didn't know much, but I just loved to be there with them, to sing with them. I didn't know how to read scriptures, but I would just go and sing, and that was it. I started having the heart to protect children, because I knew what I went through. It was a rough time in my childhood. I had no protection. My father was never there when I was being punished by my stepmoms for something I've not done. I spent many days going without food. So I started having a feeling for children who are suffering, and I didn't want to see anyone punish a child. So I started, even that, before growing spiritual, I started really, when I would see a neighbor beating a child, I would just go and confront them and just tell them what they are doing was not right. So I continued with that until 1989, when there were some missionaries who came and they wanted to teach people who would teach children in the children ministry in the church. So I went for the training because it was free. And after my 1 year, they came back for the second year, and I did my diploma with them. So after that, after having some knowledge on how to handle class, a Sunday school class, knowledge on how to search for scriptures in the Bible, and many things, I started to to desire to go and share what I'd learned with many other people in the church. So I shared with my pastor the burden God had put on my heart, and I started with my own church. Pastor gave me a week of ministering to the whole congregation. So I would teach, and I was teaching on children ministry. And out of them, I got around 7 people to be trained in the children ministry. I did the training, I trained them, and they started to serve in the church. After that, I started now asking him to go out to train other churches. So I went to many churches here in Mbale, teaching, training children ministers, and somehow pastors came to know that I do children ministry. So at one time they were having a pastors meeting here in Mbale. We have what they call Elders Fellowship, and that Elders Fellowship, pastors from all over within the region, they gather, and then they have a sharing. And this particular time they called the pastors to hear from me, and I was to teach them about the children ministry. So I shared, and after that sharing, many pastors called me to their churches to train teachers, Sunday school teachers. And I was doing it freely. I would look for my transport. I was not even being supported by the church, that the church was giving me any money. By then my husband had lost the job, but I had to look for ways, whether I walk on foot or I find someone, whoever blesses me with any money, and then I had to use that for transport. So I did the training, and the training would take almost a week, 4 to a week to 5 days. And I did that. After that, one of the pastors who attended that meeting looked for me and said, there is work. There is a hospital which has been opened. It is called Pure Children's Hospital, and they are looking for someone who can teach children. And so he just looked for me in my home and said, please come and apply for the job. So that's how I came to know Q, to come to Cure. I came, applied, and I was interviewed and passed. And I started to work at Cure as a playroom attendant, teaching children the Bible, and I was having games, puzzles, and all those things. I would play with the children, and my supervisors were impressed about what I was doing. After about 4 months, my supervisor, who was the spiritual director, was fired. And when he was fired, I remained alone, running the whole department, which is being run by 4 people now. Can you get this? So I worked by myself in the department for 8 months. And I worked from Sunday to Sunday. On Sunday I would come to Cure, pray with the moms, then go to my church for prayers. And I had the evening as the only time for resting. So I served for those months, and somehow my supervisors were appreciating my work, though I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't know that the founders had come to hire another spiritual director. And when they came, they interviewed me for about 2 days. I didn't know they were interviewing me. But at the end of it, they told me, Miriam, we are giving you the position of spiritual director. To tell you the truth, I cried. I felt I didn't deserve that. I told them, I said, but you are giving me this position. I even don't have the qualification and all that. So they told me I was doing a great work, and God is going to use me as He has used me before. And I asked them to pray for me. I knelt down by myself. They prayed and left me, and I continued with working. So after some time in 2005, we had our children we had worked on had grown, and the parents kept coming to my office to share with me the challenges they were having with their children being rejected in schools because of incontinence. The children I have, the urine just passes, cannot control, and their stool just passes. So no teacher could stand that. So I worked together with the social workers to write letters to the schools advocate for them, but though teachers would accept that, they would never let the children continue with their schools. So in 2005, I felt the Lord asking me I had the Lord asking me to start a school, a Christian school for our children. I went shared with my family, they appreciated the idea. And we all agree, yeah, we shall do it, but at the moment we have all these burdens on our family. I had loans, and I've been working, taking care of the family for, now this should be around 18 years by myself. My husband has not been working, so everything has been on me from food, whatever smallest thing you may call it in the family. So I thought I would do that, but I have this loan now. My children were in secondary schools, they were paying a lot of money. I had so many loans from the bank. Whatever I would get as my salary, it would be chopped. Just a little bit would come to my account, but the rest would be taken by the bank. So I thought I would let it reduce a bit before I start the school. But then the moms continued coming with the cry about their children not being accepted in schools. So in 2008, I'd gone to our satellite clinic in Western Uganda, and there was this Muslim gentleman who had our older child, and then he had been avoiding me because he knew I was the spiritual director. So he would wait until the end of the clinic, then we would go straight to see the doctors, because all other people would go through the spiritual department before seeing the doctors. So this time he came to me and shared his challenge, how he is getting rejection from the district with the NGOs, because they felt he was not a fit, so he wanted me to pray for him. Then he shared and told me that one of his objectives was his school to be like our hospital, that our hospital we minister, we share the gospel. So he wanted to share Islam, to teach Islam and convert all the children that come to school. And that was what he was telling me to pray for him. So there and then as he was sharing, I had like a knife piercing through my heart. And I had a voice telling me, Miriam, I told you to start a Christian school. See what the devil is planning to do, to divert all that I've been using you to his kingdom. So I went in the bathroom, I cried, I repented to God. I asked God, I repented, I told God, I'll wait. I'm not going to wait anymore. So when we came back the following day, I wrote to my boss, the founder's wife, whom I will report to at head office in the US, and I asked her to call me because I didn't have enough words to express what I was feeling. I wanted to have a talk on phone, but then she told me she was traveling, asked me to call, that she would call me after a week. But then after that, the following day, Derek called a meeting where he invited me, he invited one medical officer, one social worker. Then there was a visitor who had been doing research on our older children we worked on in the communities here. So in his presentation, this visitor said that 75% of our children in the communities are very smart, but they have been rejected in schools because of incontinence. And you know, that was like adding on what God had already put in my heart. So it was like, yeah, this thing has to be done, because there are children there who need help. There are children there who can be someone, but they've been rejected, they've been denied education. So after the meeting, I went straight to Derek's office, my supervisor, and I shared with him. I told him, Derek, I'm telling you this not because I've heard from him, but just yesterday I'd written an email to my supervisor at head office asking her to call me because of this. I feel I need to start a school, but I don't know how. I'm not a professional teacher. I don't know how they start schools and all these things. So Derek just said, yes, Miriam, you are right. There is this patient on the ward in ICU. He's being taken care of by a grandmother who is very old. The child was rejected by the parents, and that child will never have a future even if we have worked on him.
because the grandmother cannot afford anything to take this child to school and is really incontinent. So it's like everyone was saying, yeah, it is the right thing, and I'm here saying, okay, now Lord, what do? I even don't know how they start schools. So now after that meeting, now I started just to pray, God, now where do I start from? So I shared with a friend, with the nurse manager, our nurse manager, and she told me, but you said you have a friend who had started a nursery, primary, secondary, now university. Why don't you contact her? So I raised her on the phone, and she told me, no, you don't need even to travel to where I am. Just go to your district, tell them your vision, and let them give you opportunity to go and visit other schools who are handling the same cases, and then you can start. So I took his advice, I went to the district and shared my vision, and I told them I want to go somewhere where there are schools of such children so that I can know what is expected of me, what I need. They told me, unfortunately, we have not had of any in Uganda. You are the first one, so we have nowhere to send you. And I said, okay, God, now that I have no one to help me, you have to help me. Because if this is the first of its kind in Uganda, then you have to give me the wisdom, you have to give me the knowledge that I know what to do. So they just told me, said, okay, we shall come inspect your place, tell you the changes needed and all that. So they came and inspected the place. I said, yeah, I think you can start. So he was telling them, now I hear you are supposed to have a license and registration. Said, no, we don't give a license unless we have seen children. You have to start, teach, we come interview the children, see whether what you are teaching is relevant. That's when we register the school. So you have to start. So I said, okay. Now, as we were talking like that, and I had the landlord of this place, two of the tenants had gone away without paying him. So he was very annoyed that he said no one would do it. He was not going to rent the place to anyone because they were giving him hard time. And me, I was in the main house, so I was alone in the compound. So that time when everything was like God was saying, yes, yes, start now, I had a place vacant, which the landlord had refused to hire to people. Then I approached him, I said, you know, I want to start a school. Can I use the place? He said, yes, why not? So he gave me a go-ahead to start with us to renovate the place and use it for school. But then I kept the place for almost a year because I didn't have money to pay for rent and all that. So I kept promising him I'm going to start, I will pay. And then in 2012, my son, it was 2012, my son fell sick and was diagnosed with cancer, went through the first operation and then the second operation. So as I prayed for him, I trusted God. I really, when the test came positive, because they had assured us they were taking the test to US, the pathologists, a certain place in US that the number of pathologists that look at those tests, and once they confirm it is positive, it is positive. So that's where it was taken, and the results came positive. And I refused it in my spirit. I said, no, my child will not die of cancer. So I took days of fasting and praying, and I believed God to heal my son. So after that time, I spent a month plus in the hospital nursing my son. I came back and then waited, because after the operation, they took samples of where the operation ended, and again the test to the same place to test to find whether the cancer cells were there or they should cut more, they should operate heal them more. So after, when they told him the results will come after 2 weeks, it didn't come. 1 month results didn't come. After 1 month plus, I started having peace. I said, these people must be fearing to tell me, because they had operated my son twice. They must be fearing to tell me that he's now cancer free. So then I wrote to the sergeant. I said, I feel you are fearing to tell me something. Why don't you give me the results? Because they kept telling me the results are not good. I said no. Then head office also helped me and started pushing. Says, you are disturbing our worker. She cannot stabilize. Give her the results. We paid for it or what? So now they told me, actually, your son does not have cancer. So that one was unanswered prayer for me. I knew it is the same people, the whole world approves that they cannot make a mistake. And they said he has cancer, and now they are saying he does not. I knew God had healed my son. So because I fasted, my son appreciated, after clearing the bills, we had a balance of 2.8, I think. I don't remember very well. And he gave me that as an appreciation. So remember, I had a whole debt of 1 year of rent. So I got that money, cleared rent, which was as outstanding. And then I had this grandmother who wanted to give up a grandchild because he was having now a heart problem. He could no longer manage to go to fetch water. And with the incontinence, you have to wash every day like you are washing for a baby and all that. So she came and told me, Miriam, you have promised me about the school, but I don't see the school starting. So I'm taking this child back. If the child dies, let the child die. That broke my heart because this was a big boy, was 8 years old. He was understanding, and now the grandmother is giving him. I burst in tears just in the office. I started to cry. I moved the child, I took the child outside, and I called the mother, the grandmother. I said, please, just help me this time, just give me 1 month. Just 1 month. I'll not go beyond that, and I'll start the school. So immediately the school opened after 1 month. I bought 1 chair, I bought 1 table, I bought 1 blackboard, and I hired 1 teacher. So we were doing the child started studying. So when other parents heard that I had started, they brought in their children. So I was staying with these children in my house until the number grew to 13. When the number became big, I had now to move to another place because they had already inspected this place. I was not allowed to take the school anywhere before inspection. So the only way was for me to move out and leave the home for the children. So when they became 13, it was difficult for me and my family. I had my children with me. Then adding on this, accommodation was not enough for us. For hostel was not enough for the children. So I had just to leave everything I was using in my house. Left saucepan, left cups, I left everything for the school, and I had to move out. And then I got the house where I was staying. So that's how I started the school, and God has been gracious. Without the knowledge, people have been coming with ideas. Miriam, why don't you do this? Miriam, why don't you try this? And I've just been following what God has been leading me through other people to reach to where I am. So the education officer came, appreciated, came interviewed the children. He was just amazed about how smart the children were. I said, Miriam, I don't know how I can help, but please be in touch with me all the time so that I can see how we can register the school. So he came, inspected the place. He said, now this place is not conducive for the children because there are rocks down, and because the children have no feelings in their legs. When they walk, the stones keep cutting them, and many of them have lost toes. They don't even realize. When especially they are playing, they are running, when they are sitting and resting, when one looks at the toe, say, my toe is gone, without realizing that it is gone. So he told me, you need to look for another place where you can take these children. Actually, we have started looking for places, but they are really expensive. Because here we pay 400,000 Ugandan shillings. But when I went to another place, which was really conducive, because he told me he wanted where there is grass, where children can plant there is grass, they asked me for 1 million shillings. 1 million is, for now, I cannot afford that. For me, my prayer was that from here, I'll be moving to a school building. So my prayer with the children, I told them to start praying for land and money to build a school. Because I think when we pay $1 million per month, that will be money to do other things. If we got our own land and constructed some few rooms and we start on slowly, it would be better than building what? Than paying rent every month. So that is one of my prayer requests at the moment. We are praying to move from here. Already yesterday the landlord came, he wants to construct, the place is small but he wants to construct another building and put rentals, which means he wants to put in other people. And you know, with the condition of my children, we cannot share the compound. They need privacy. So they cannot see them removing the urine with their catheters and other people are looking at them. It becomes a bit difficult. So it looks like, in other ways, he's trying to chase me away to leave his premise. But I'm just believing God to do for us a miracle, maybe by the end of this year. That either we move to another home which we can afford, which is conducive according to the district education officer, or God provides us with land and we are able to start construction where we move to our own place. So that is my future plans. I have bigger plans for these children, very big. The dreams are too big like this. In my head, I want to build up a university. That's what I feel in my spirit. By the time they reach primary 7, I want to put vocational trainings for them because not all of them may be able to proceed. So I want to put vocational trainings. My plan, what I wanted, even by this year, even if I will start with one desktop computer, I want to start teaching them computer. That's a requirement now in Uganda for every job. That if a child can, like they cannot work, if they can do some secretary work, start learning to type and do something. This is something which schools have started in every place. Right from primary, they teach them computer, which we are being introduced to now. So it is something I want to introduce to the children so that those who may not be smart enough to continue the school can start with those skills and other skills which they are able to do with their physical disabilities. So I plan within some maybe 4 years, 4 to 3, because they are now 4 years, that at least I should be having a vocational school where these children will be branching off and learning other things. And I have the challenge at the moment. I have challenges with paying the workers. Being a place of children with disabilities, people expect to be paid highly. Imagine the matron I have does almost, she cooks, she cleans, she washes, and the washing is really much, and using the hand. I'm believing God that God will give me maybe a washing machine that will be a relief, a big relief to her, because at least she does not have a lot of washing every day. And at times when the clothes are not dry, the children have to go through rough, especially in season. So I thought a washing machine would really help. Will help me with the school. Food, as I said, food is not a big problem to me because in Uganda you can borrow food. You can go to a store and you ask for 100 kilos of posho, 100 kilos of rice. From the business people, they will give you so long as you are good at paying back. So you can keep paying maybe in installments so long as you finish. And when it comes to people who have been helping you, like volunteers, they want by the end of the month, they want their wages paid. So it has been really a big challenge to me, because I still also have my children. I use mostly my salary to pay for the running of the school, but still also I have my children to pay for. Now, as I had mentioned, I have my son who is doing a computer science, needs almost $800. Not almost, actually, they pay $800 right from, even if the internet, that's what they put as a fee. So that one is really challenging for me because As much as I would want to help the school, I don't want also my children to feel like I've neglected them because of this. So I try to balance the two. So because I want the school to continue and I want the children also to go to school, I end up really sacrificing a lot to the point of not having food to eat. Because at times I feel I'm eating, but the school children are not eating. I would love to eat this, but my child is not at school and I need them to be at school. So that has been something I'm praying over and trusting God that He will help me and give me a breakthrough so that these two arms all move together. I don't want one down. I don't want the school to deteriorate. I don't want my children to start wrong because my son for sure now is 2 weeks, 3 weeks since they opened and he has not reported to school because of money. I had to pay the teachers last month and I had to use all what I had from my salary that I didn't have to save for my son's tuition. So every time he's calling, I'm telling him, let us believe God, let us believe God. But I don't want him to be disappointed that my mother neglected me because he's paying for the other children and other requirements. So when you go back, please pray for us, pray for me. I need God's wisdom, I need God's provision, I need God's guidance. I know this was started by God, but I don't want my children to be discouraged, to be far from God because they may think I'm neglecting them. So I need a lot of your prayers in those areas that the Lord really provides. It is His vision, it is His work, it is all about Him and His people. I feel the satisfaction for sure when mothers come happy, they tell me how the people are praising their children in their communities, how they are doing well. They came here when they didn't know how to catheterize themselves and now they are independent. Even if the mother goes for a visit, they are able to put the catheters, drain the urine, they are able to get warm water, do bowel management. And that was my goal, that these children become independent. Because all of them literally, the parents were doing whatever the children are doing right now. Their parents were the ones doing it for them. So we have been able to teach them that. I counsel them to accept their condition. I counsel them to appreciate themselves. I counsel them to love themselves. And you know, it has now come that now children no longer want to go home. They don't want to go back to their homes when it comes to holidays. They feel they want to stay here. And I'm saying, no, not now. I'm not able. I need really a break when it is 3 months with me and 1 month with their parents for the whole year. No, the whole year it should be about 2 months and a half. They stay with the parents and the rest of the month they are with me. So I feel I need a break during that time also. I'm reading, I'm working. So during the time they are at home, I have a break. I'm able to concentrate on my school work. I'm able to concentrate on my office work, and I'm not divided like that. So you pray for me. I pray for my school also, that the Lord will help me to go through, to pass, because at times I have demands, especially when the children are sick. I'm telling you, I'm not at peace at all. Because I know especially children with the hydro, like Safra, who is admitted right now, they can change condition anytime. If they change it in the night, I don't have a vehicle to pick them from here. And I always pray every day, God, keep these children healthy. Let nothing happen to them in the night, because even if they call me, I will not be able to reach them in the night. So there are many things we are trusting God for as we grow as a school, to help these children really live a productive life. There will be a lot we need to put in place to help them. And with your prayers, everything is possible with God.